everybody, and welcome in to another episode of 3 Shades of Blue TV. It's Thursday night. I'm glad you could join us here. I'm Zach Thomas, your host for 3SOBtv, and tonight we got a great show for you. I'm glad you've joined us. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that we are constantly looking for supporters and for advertisers and people who want to partner with us here at 3 Shades of Blue. If you would like to partner with us, whether it's on our radio show on AM 560, whether it's here on 3SOBtv or our website, would you please email me, 3SOBtv@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on Twitter. There's my handle right there at Zachary T. Thomas, or at 3SOBtv. I would love to talk to you about that. We have plans starting as low as $150, so that would be tremendous. We'd love for you to grow with us, and if you want to connect with the most informed and intelligent and up-to-date Grizzlies fans, 3 Shades of Blue is the place to be. So we're really excited about what's going on here, and we'd love for you guys who have businesses to partner with us. So we're looking forward to that. Tonight on the show, we've got Grizzlies PA announcer Rick Trotter. We'll also talk to our 3 Shades of Blue panel and discuss a few things about the Grizzlies and what's gone on the past week and what we're looking forward to this season, and kind of evaluate where we're at so far. But, man, let's get right into it. I'm really excited about this guy. He is a friend of mine. I've known him for a few years, probably about 3 or 4 years. We've gone back a little ways, and just an incredible guy. He's the PA announcer for the Grizzlies. He is a father to 2. He is a husband and a Memphis advocate. You know him as the voice of the Grizzlies. He's also a very talented vocalist and worship leader over at Downtown Church. And so tonight, though, he is here with us, and I'd like to welcome in now my buddy Rick Trotter. Rick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Good to be here. Glad to be here, and excited about the upcoming season. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. So I know you're busy right now. So what are you up to? What are you up to right now? You said something earlier. What you got going on right now?
At this very moment?
Yeah, this very moment.
I've got a fantasy basketball draft I'm in right now, and I've got 30 seconds to pick between Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook. And gosh, it's so hard to pass up Chris Paul, but I just cannot draft a Clipper. I'm taking Russell Westbrook.
I don't think anyone in Grizz Nation right now is gonna want to know what you pick, because those are probably the 2 most hated players.
I'm telling you, man.
Grizzlies fans love to hate. So.
Yep. Giant douche and turd sandwich.
Well, man, I'm glad you joined us. I know you're busy. Like I said, you've got a lot going on, but I'm glad you could be here tonight with us. So I got a few questions for you, just to kind of get to know you, let our audience get to know you a little better. We hear a lot about the off season for the players, but one of the things that we don't hear a lot about is the off season for the staff. And so I'm just curious, what did you do this off season? What did you do this summer? Did you go on any trips? Did you have any major changes in life? I think you changed jobs or something like that. Tell us a little bit about what happened.
It was a busy summer. I mean, it started out really good. I actually, a good friend of mine invited me to be a part of the K-Love Fan Awards, and so I got to go to Nashville and to Opryland and announce a celebrity basketball game for the K-Love Fan Awards. So that kind of kicked off the summer for us right at the end of the Grizzlies season, and then I did make a transition away from. I was working full time for Chick-fil-A on Union Avenue as operations director, but now I'm working for my church full time, and very glad to do that. Just a career of passion, and very rewarding work over at Chick-fil-A. But this is something that kind of tugs at my heart, and I feel like just a little more lasting value in what I'm doing there, and so. Able to do that still gives me plenty of time for announcing basketball, but yeah, and then this summer also gave me an opportunity. Off season gave me an opportunity to say yes to some things that during a basketball season I can't do. A lot of people want me to help host benefits for nonprofits and things like that, and so I've just been kind of MC extraordinaire all through the summer helping people to raise money for various organizations here in the city. So it's always great to be a part of that.
Yeah, man, that's really great. And you mentioned you're now kind of full time on staff there at Downtown Church, and you're involved in music. So, tell me a little bit about that. How have you been able to utilize your influence as the Grizzlies PA announcer there at Downtown Church? I mean, have you seen any growth? Have you seen any interaction because of your position that you have with the Grizzlies and how that interacts with Downtown Church?
No, I mean, a lot of people recognize me, obviously, but it's almost two separate worlds in that way, and that just what I do there, I can't say that me being there has drawn anybody to our church, but it definitely doesn't hurt, I guess, for the people that do visit and come. That maybe that's a little notch on their board of just why they're staying. We've got plenty of Grizzlies fans over at Downtown Church. A lot of them are downtown residents and live in that area, and so plenty of season ticket holders, and I see a lot of our folks at Grizzlies games, and so it's fun to be able to kind of come in Sunday morning, and we're focused on some big things, but I may look out in the audience and see some Grizzlies jerseys or a Grizzlies T-shirt. Sometimes on our worship team, we've got folks who will show up in Grizz gear, and I don't do that, but I don't excuse anybody. I excuse anybody who wants to do that, as long as it's not too distracting. But it's good. Being a part of ministry downtown and being such a part of the Grizzlies organization is just kind of my family. We've moved down here now. We live in the area, and so all of our life is kind of centered around from about St. Jude over to FedEx Forum, and it's great. It's great to just be able to walk up and down the street and people recognize you, and it's just good to be recognized in the community in that way. So.
Yeah, so you basically led right into my next question.
Okay, awesome.
You kind of, you're kind of a big deal on Twitter and to Grizz Nation.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't say this lightly, and not because you're my friend, but I seriously mean it. I think you are the best in the business at what you do, and we're very blessed and fortunate to have you. But do you ever just walk down the street and have people recognize you, or is it more just whenever you speak because they get to hear your voice while not necessarily seeing you?
No, a couple of years ago, the Grizzlies decided they would do a pregame, what do we call it, countdown to the game. And so before the game, we come out, we talk, Joey Thorson and I just kind of warm the crowd up that's there early and get them ready for the game. And it's just, it put my face where it's usually just my voice, but over the last 2 or 3 years, people have seen my face as well, and so now it's hard to go anywhere without people recognizing you, and it's everything from obnoxious guys sometimes, like Rick Trotter, in the middle of some restaurant, or old ladies doing their Rick Trotter impression in the grocery store, or and then even. Sometimes it gets a little weird. Like there was a guy who followed my family around, and my family and I around in a Walmart one day, and I actually thought we were getting in his way. I thought my kids were, blocking him for what we just always seem to end up on the same aisle, and I'm like, well, kids, get out of this guy's way, whatever. And then my wife says, no, I think he recognizes you, but he wouldn't say anything. Like he was just following us around. I finally said, I said, are you a Grizzlies fan? He was like, yeah, I thought that was you. I was like, come on, dude.
Nice. Nice.
So
that's kind of awkward.
It's we're everyday people. What I do for the Grizzlies gives me a high profile, but we're just hard-working folk, just kind of trying to make it in this little city.
Yeah, man. Well, I tell you what. I mean, not just your voice behind the microphone on the sideline, but man, I still think there's been no one else that I've heard that has done a better rendition of the national anthem than you've done. And I know I sang it last night, and you asked me and invited me after cancellation. I was honored to do that. But dude, you got some pipes, man, and I respect you a lot as a vocalist as well, and really encouraged when I get to see you sing. But so that was one kind of. I mean, have you had any other experiences like that in the community that kind of surprise you with interactions with people?
No, a couple of years ago, Yeah, I think recently, for some reason, I've run into more of our more seasoned Grizzlies fans, and talking some silver and blue hair Grizzlies fans. So, and you never know how it's coming off to everybody. Obviously, you can't please all of the people all of the time. And so, the younger folks, 30 and under, they have no problem telling me how that much they love what we do and that kind of thing. But you just never know how it's going with everybody. But here in the last 2 weeks or so, I've run into some of folks who've been season ticket holders from day one, and they just encourage me, telling me how good a job I'm doing, how much they enjoy what we do, and just really pushing, man. You keep doing that, and that felt really good to know that I have the respect of even the older Grizzlies fans, and so that was really cool.
Well, that's great. So let me turn our attention to basketball a little bit. I asked you this last year on the sideline when I was doing the story, the feature story on our website. But what would be your favorite moment, your favorite Grizzlies moment since you've been the PA announcer that you'd want to share with everybody tonight?
Well, gosh, so many moments. I mean, I still think the one that stands out was I feel like the moment what we have right now was born when Zach Randolph hit a 3-point over Tim Duncan, and we put San Antonio out of the playoffs, and it was just a really surreal moment. And as I tell that story, like I had to go back and watch the highlights to even. Somebody asked me one day, like, what did you say when that happened? And I couldn't remember because I was just so caught up in the moment. And thank goodness it was something, normal and coherent, and But just that moment that really kind of set some things on felt like it set the team on a different trajectory, and it's been going in a really good direction ever since. But just getting over that hump and doing so behind a player that we can all kind of rally around in Zach, and so that was a kind of a pivotal moment for me, and probably the highlight of my time here with the Grizzlies.
Yeah, so we started that kind of started and launched what we've been experiencing now, and I know you're an employee of the Grizzlies, so you can't necessarily speak your mind freely, but I do want to just ask you.
I speak my mind freely all the time. Whatever they love, I love. Okay.
No, I understand. No, so let me ask you this: what are your expectations for the season? What are your expectations for the guys? Do you feel that this is, the best Grizzlies team you've seen? Just kind of run down the basketball side of things and just kind of give a synopsis of the way you see things. I mean, you've been there for a long time, so you've seen a lot of basketball come and go. So kind of tell us a little bit about what you expect for this season.
Yeah, I tell you what, I keep saying the West is tough, but the West has always been tough. I mean, I don't think it's any tougher today than it was, when we beat San Antonio. San Antonio is different now. But the Western Conference is still, cream of the crop. I mean, if you're talking our top four teams in the West, are probably top 4 or 5, are probably among the best top 4 or 5 teams in the league. Period. Maybe you can put 1 or 2 teams from the Eastern Conference in that conversation. So I feel really good. A couple things make me feel really good. One is that just the continuity. The continuity there with the core. The core 4 with Mark and Mike and Tony and Zach, just those guys been going through the ups and downs, and their hunger for the same things kind of building, and wanting to be to kind of get over that hump, get chips off your shoulders, and all those other good things. Those guys, they want to win, and they've like I said, they've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly at this point, and they've all done it together. So that's a good thing. The conditioning that Mark Gasol has done is amazing. This is the best shape I've ever seen him in since we've had him on this team. And you look at him, the way he gets up and down the floor, and then you hear the things that he's saying about wanting to be more aggressive, and wanting to be a bigger part of the offense. And then even in the preseason, we've already seen some of that. I mean, from his shot attempts, and I think I've seen him above the rim more in the preseason than I have all of last season. And so, even seeing where Mike's got to kind of adjust his timing with Mark, because Mark's getting the spots faster than Mike is used to him. I've seen him running the break, and Mike overshot him because they're just not in sync yet with Mark and his new, kind of his new body, I guess, if you will. So if that can continue this season, and again, Mike's a year better. We saw a lot of improvement from him last year, and he's still determined. He was working hard all season. And we've got several other guys on the roster that are trying to, guys like Quincy Pondexter, who missed off most of the last season, and really wanting to solidify his own spot on this team. Getting Vince Carter, a vet, to come off the bench who can, offensively, he can do a little bit of everything for us, and he's much more aggressive than most of the guys we've ever had coming off of the bench. And not only aggressive, but he's aggressive and has the ability to score and to facilitate the offense. And so, I think those things only help us. So, I'm really ambitious about what we're going to do this year. I think we finished in the top 5 in the West, and it's back to some slobber knocking in the playoffs, man. It's going to be ugly, and some knockdown dragouts, but I'm not counting us out at all.
So let me ask you this: do you, in your professional opinion, think Zach Randolph cares at all about the preseason?
I think Zach feels about the preseason the way we all feel about the preseason is, let's bring on the games that count. And, it just gets tough, when we're blowing out Flamengo by 40 points, and, you're trying things that, just trying some rotations and some things that he may not see during the regular season. It's hard to get up for that. I think Zach's ready for opening night like I am.
Yeah. I hear you, man. Well, dude, I really appreciate you joining us tonight, man. I know you're going to get back to your fantasy draft you got there, but you guys can follow Rick if you don't already. I don't know why you don't, but if you don't, follow him on Twitter at Rick Trotter.
Over 6,000. That's crazy, dude.
Say how many?
6,000 followers, man. That's pretty nuts. Wow.
That's amazing, man. Hey, share a little bit of those with me sometime.
I'll point them your way. Maybe we'll do some hashtag Follow Fridays on that.
There you go. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on, and just know that from us here at 3 Shades of Blue, and I know for Grizz Nation, we love you. We love your family. We're glad you're here in Memphis, and we love the job that you do. We're glad you're on our team. So, man, keep up the good work, and I'll see you Friday night.
All right, man. Y'all have a good one. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Rick. Oh, man. So that's Rick Trotter, voice PA announcer of the Grizzlies, and, man, really glad that he could join us tonight. He's a busy dude. So let's keep moving on. 3 Shades of Blue TV continues to roll on. Every week we do a segment called The High-Low, and tonight I'm going to mention the high of the week, and the high of the week would be this shot. If you're on Google Plus, you can see it. It would be the shot of Dirk Nowitzki getting slapped at the basket from Vince Carter. Vince laid down the smackdown on his former teammate Dirk the other night on Monday when they played. Man, dude got up. So he might not be able to run down the court right now real well because of his ankle, but dude can still jump, man. He got up and he had that block, and that was amazing. It's kind of like Tony started it, and then Dirk got the ball back. Anyway, I just shared the clip. If you see the clip, you'll see the whole play. But that was the high of the week for me. I was thrilled by seeing Vince Carter do that. That was it's pretty amazing. The dude still got it. The low of the week, and I got to touch on this because last week I talked about how great the Grizzlies' free throw shooting was, right? They hit 100% against the Hawks. They were 17 of 17. Well, the past week they've made up for that because they shot a combined 65% on the week. Last night they were 61%. Before that, they were 70% against Flamingo. They were 75%. So it's been pretty discouraging to see the Grizzlies not hit the free ones. But I just think that Memphis, the city of Memphis basketball teams, are cursed when it comes to free throws. I mean, no matter what we do, it seems like we can never drop. We can't hit the free ones. I saw someone last night on Twitter. They said, hey, they call them free throws because they're free. Well, unless you're playing for a team from Memphis, because it seems like we just can't do it. But I guess like John Calipari always says, we'll make them when they count, right? It's still the preseason. So let's hope they get that going. But that's the low for me. So Vince Carter's the high. Our free throw shooting's the low. But now it's time to turn to our panel, our 3 Shades of Blue panel. We've kind of added this now. It's kind of a little segment where we get to bring in some other guys and kind of have a roundtable discussion, talk about a few of the things that are important to Grizz Nation and kind of what's going on, take an evaluation of where we're at. So right now I want to bring in our panel. We've got Steve Danziger. You can see Steve there on Twitter, at Steve Danziger. And then you've got Chip Crane as well. There's Chip. So you can follow Chip at ChipC3. And so guys, welcome in. Glad you could join us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so let's kind of get into it. Let's ask a few questions. Steve, I'll start with you. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. So Steve, let me ask you this. Jaeger, obviously, he announced his starting lineup the other day on local radio on Jeff Calkins' show, and he said that he was starting obviously the big three plus Tony Allen and Courtney Lee. First of all, does that surprise you that he already announced it this early? And then two, does it surprise you with the selections that he made?
First of all, I want to say I like calling them the big three. That's pretty cool for Mike, Mark, and Zach. But regarding the starting lineup, I'm not really surprised that they've decided to open it up now. He didn't really seem to be holding his cards really at all with the things he's trying to do in the preseason. But I think it was more of just experimentation, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. What I am surprised about is the fact that he did choose this lineup that he chose, not because I don't think it will work, but because he didn't really seem willing to do it last year. Last season they played a total of, I'm speaking of Tony Allen and Courtney Lee, they played a total of 135 minutes together in the regular season, and Jaeger didn't really seem comfortable playing them together until late in the playoffs when Tony Allen was locking down Kevin Durant, and it was a necessity. We could have really used the lineup like this when Tayshaun Prince was, really struggling late in the season last year, and I'm kind of excited to see how it works. I think that it's really more to showcase Courtney Lee for a possible trade, as we all spoke of before. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Chip. And let's see how it works. Let's see how it goes. I don't think this is going to be the starting lineup halfway through the season.
Yeah, so Chip, let me ask you, I'll follow up on that and say, do you think that the lineup that he's got out there is something that he's doing because of a trade, or we've talked about that. We've thought, well, there's too many wings. Jordan Adams isn't going to play. He's buried him on the bench. Him and Jarnell Stokes aren't going to play at all. That seems uncharacteristic, I guess. Maybe not for Jaeger or a Memphis team, but just a guy that's been drafted so high. Do you think that plays any part in why they're starting Courtney Lee? Maybe they're trying to get him out there to be seen and then end up trading him.
First of all, let's remember there's this old game that a lot of people have played in their life called poker, and not everything you say is what you really are holding in your hand. I agree right now. Jaeger said he's going to go with Lee and Allen. Opening night, that's probably the lineup. If it doesn't work, I don't think we're locked into this for 60 games. I think he's saying, this is what I'm doing. First of all, Tony has made it clear, apparently, that he wants to be a starter, and we can't start Carter right now. He's worried about starting Quincy Pondexter. Apparently, Tayshaun Prince has shown the same in practice that he's shown on the court, which is basically nothing. And so it's a starting lineup because no one else has taken it. I don't think this is the lineup he feels comfortable with all year. He's going to see how it runs. If it doesn't run well, he'll have a quick pull on it and try something else. And especially the way Quincy's played since the announcement. he has really stepped up, played the way we wanted him to be playing start of last season. So if he can continue this run of hitting these big shots, playing solid, not trying to do too much, it won't be long before you're going to want to get a few more inches into the starting lineup for defensive purposes, if nothing else. You can do Quincy and Tony and flip-flop them around. So while I'm very surprised he announced it early, I always hold back in my mind that just because he said it now doesn't mean that's what he's really holding in his hand, and it may shock us on opening night that what the starting lineup turns out to be.
Yeah, so I think right now, I mean, Courtney Lee, he didn't play last night because of his ankle. We'll see if he plays Friday night against Miami, but I imagine they're just letting him hold out for rest. But I do think it's interesting what you said is that when Yeager announced and he kind of defined the roles for the team, he had to have told Quincy, you're not starting. And I think knowing Quincy and how he was last year and knowing how vocal he was at the end of the season, on the end of the season media day about how he thought he was ready to play, but the doctors wouldn't clear him to play. And I mean, he's very competitive. And I do think that since that time, you have seen a completely different player. I mean, he has not tried to force things. He has shared the ball. He's hit shots. He's been very aggressive. He's really moved the ball throughout the offense. And he's gotten active in the passing lanes, and he's played decent defense. And so, you know, I mean, sure, he needs to knock down a few more threes, but my point is like me and Jonathan May were talking about last night, he's shooting them, though. As long as he's shooting those shots, you got to think with his percentages, they're going to start falling. And I think that's what's important is that maybe Yeager did this to kind of motivate Q in a way to say, hey, we need you. We're going to need you. And he said in that press conference last night, he was very high on Quincy. I mean, as a matter of fact, in the post-game reaction, I got it on our YouTube channel if you want to watch it. Quincy even was surprised. He's like, Coach said that about me? He said that I was good and that I was doing well and I was playing within the offense and not trying to force. He said that about me? And so I think he was even surprised because, like you said, maybe he's trying to do a few things to force the issue and get Quincy motivated a little more because he knows that he can play with you better than he has. So, man, I think that's good. Now, we mentioned trade. Steve, who do you think is the most tradable assets on the team right now? And I know it's preseason and it's kind of weird to be talking about it, but you got to look at the roster and think you got 13, 14 guys deep. You got Tayshaun that's going to be riding the bench. You got two rookies in Jarnell Stokes and Jordan Adams that have been told they're going to ride the bench. I mean, surely you're not going to be able to go through the whole season with everybody happy with their minutes, and so you got to imagine that people are looking for trades. So who would you say is the most tradable assets right now?
Right now, I think we have to. I mean, I think I would love to say Courtney Lee. If I'm being realistic, probably Koufos. And I don't think I would onto him until there's always going to be some team that needs an extra 7-footer around, and he's really the only guy that we would have that would have any value in that sense. The problem is he's not even playing great right now. But the thing is with 7-footers, sometimes they don't even have to play great. They just have to be a body to be there, and somebody will take them on and offer something of some value for that. The problem is if we get rid of him, we've got nobody else in the front line behind Mark Gasol and Zach Randolph that's proven anything to us to this point. So I'm going to say Kosa.
Okay. Chip, what do you think?
Well, I think a trade's always a two-sided coin. On our side of the coin, Tayshaun Prince's name is, that's his likeness on that side of the coin. We'd love to trade Tayshaun right now. How able we're going to be is another issue. I think if you're looking at teams looking at our roster, then an expiring Koufos, Courtney Lee who can spread a court, Tony Allen who if Quincy replaces him, all of a sudden you've got two $5 million shooting guards. The teams may look at that and say maybe they're willing with Jordan Adams in the rear. This could be a move they want to make. So I would put those up, and no one wants to hear it, but Gasol could come out and say, I'm not re-signing with Memphis, and then he becomes a big trade target too. Kofis and Gasol are two major expiring contracts. There are other players who we were hoping will expire soon. The sooner the better. But those two guys we're looking at, we want to hold on to Kofis as long as we can until Gasol signs. There's no way we're going to take a risk of trading Kofis and then losing Gasol to free agency. I just don't see that happening. So, in my opinion, we want to trade Prince. Teams have to be looking. They're going to be saying, Courtney Lee, Tony Allen, maybe even a Quincy Pondexter, are these guys available? Those will be the ones who attract interest.
All right. So it's 9 o'clock, so I wanna respect everyone's time here too. But last question: having watched the preseason games, we have one more left, but we've seen 7. We've seen the box scores. We've heard about how they played. Are your expectations any better or any worse, or about the same for where you thought the Grizzlies were going to start the season and where they would end up? Steve.
I kind of take if you're following before everybody, I take the Zach Randolph stance on preseason, as we mentioned with Trotter. I think that what we can get out of preseason really just gives you ideas of what type of things you could see. So what type of rotations you could expect Jaeger to play with, and what type of they're going to experiment. But in terms of good or bad, how well these things are going to be done, I don't think we could take much value, and I stay pretty much the same.
All right. Chip, what do you think?
I would say I was very high on 54 being our win total. I'm going to stick with 54. I'm concerned about a lack of a shot blocker off the bench, a real big man. John Lewis, great. He can do what he can do, but we don't have a great defensive guy off the bench at power forward. And frankly, I've been very disappointed in what I've seen with Beno Udrih. He hasn't been the player I was hoping he would be. I really thought he should be ahead of Nick Calathes at this point, and in my opinion, Calathes is ahead of him, and that gives us 13 games. I'm more and more convinced now that we're going to see a 15th player leaving camp on this team, and it's going to be a point guard.
Okay. There you go. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us tonight. That's kind of all the time we've got. Man, time went fast. We had Trotter on, and then we only got to 3 questions. I had 2 more questions for us to go, but maybe we'll catch those next week or talk about some other stuff some other time. So, guys, thanks for joining us. And for you guys who are watching at home and watching this on your devices or wherever you're at, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed some stuff and learned a little bit more about Rick Trotter and enjoyed our discussions about the Grizzlies. We'll be here again next week. We have Friday night, the last preseason game against the Heat, and then it's time to play basketball that matters. And I think we're all excited about that. We're ready to see how these guys are going to play. And we started off with Minnesota right there at the Grindhouse against Andrew Wiggins and the Timberwolves. So it's going to be fun. Going to be a fun season. We're looking forward to it. Thank you for joining us tonight. And thanks to our panel guests, to Rick Trotter. And, hey, pay attention to Twitter. Follow me at Zachary T. Thomas, at 3SOBtv. You can follow us, and I'll be sure to make everyone aware of when our next show will be. So, last final thoughts. Remember, if you last longer than 4 hours, don't call the neighbor. Call your doctor. Hey, for 3SOBtv, I'm Zach Thomas. Peace.